Yo, 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 everybody, what's going on? You know who's in the building. Bryce Hardy, 432-675 DOC number. We got Mr. Family Business in the building as usual. Today we have an exquisite topic. We're talking about keys to success of the Challenges to Reentry series put together by the iWalk.
All right. Greetings once again. Hola. Lawrence Walter Hardy, 03 Alpha 1400. And once again, it's an honor and privilege to be here sharing this message and also this vision. So, would you repeat the topic again, Amir?
So, keys to success. We talking about keys to success. What does success look like?
That's a good topic and a good question. So one thing about success I know is it's rarely a result of a single secret. There's so many different factors and avenues and just input that you can apply and speak on when dealing with the product of a specific set of habits, mindset and a system. So yeah, I mean there's different many keys I would say. I probably could go over like would you want me to probably mention like a couple of fundamentals of the keys to success if possible?
I mean, whatever suits the topic. Like, if you already defined success, what does it look like for you? Because a lot of people, a lot of the listeners, kind of looking to you as like their mentor, man. A lot of the young guys, a lot of older brothers that's still locked up, myself included, a young guy that's locked up. Being able to converse, communicate with somebody that went through the same struggle that I'm currently going through, is able to get out, not come back, and is currently still dealing with DOC. What does success look like? How do you do it? What is the recipe? We need to know the blueprint to success.
Okay, all right. So just like in when it comes to baking a cake or some grandma cookies, chocolate chip cookies, there's many different recipes you could come up with. I believe that like the blueprint works for there's different blueprints that work for different individuals. But let me bring this question before I begin in deeper, right? Do you believe that success begins with how you process the world around you?
Hmm. Interesting. Six. Do I believe success begins with how I process the world around me?
Yeah.
As
No.
in how I view the world? Yes, yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. And I will agree with you on there. Because I believe like like a growth of the mindset. You know, because people with a good mindset, I think you have to have a vision, and I know that me and you on a one-on-one basis talk a lot about vision, and I believe that's where it starts at to have a vision and ambition, goals. It could be short-term goals, long-term goals, but it's just the vision and goals and the ability to step out, and then try to accomplish those goals, because people with a mindset see failure as a data point rather than a dead end, because even with coming with, starting a journey of success, we're gonna run into roadblocks. You're gonna run into obstacles and stuff, and a lot of people give up in the beginning. So I think one good key is like to have that vision, and also use a lot of things that don't venture out from the start, not as dead ends or failures, but as a detour.
Man, I could testify to that. I almost crashed out the other week. And just between us and the viewers, I end up sneaking into the weight pile, and I haven't lifted weights since I was 18 years old. But I snuck into this weight pile, and I got found out basically. My ID was taken from me. I was sent back to the unit. I was waiting for this infraction. Like, yeah, I ain't worried about this infraction. 5 points. I'm still gonna be here. I ain't worried about it. But in the meantime, I had to go to school. I had commitments I needed to go to. I had to go to the library. I was supposed to go to law library. I had all of these things I needed to do. And every time I try to go explain myself to these officers in these different places, they're like, you ain't got no ID, you can't get no service, go back to the unit. I was like, man, the most terrible thing that I felt in prison is feeling as if I wasn't worth a penny. And that's how I felt when I didn't have an ID. And I could really, really speak on what you're saying, like so much more. But just to keep it short, like crashing out is a lot of people's first thought when they come across that roadblock. Like how you said, people want to be able to accomplish this mission and don't understand what a growth mindset is or success looks like. And they see, oh, boom, this person telling me no, or there's an obstacle in my way. And then automatically they're like, okay, well, if I can't have that, then boom, nobody can have nothing. But really, they're hurting themselves. They're not hurting anyone but themselves.
Right. You definitely can identify, and you speak of a good example, that you experienced. And because one key thing I believe also with success is like extreme ownership. Like you take responsibility for everything in your life. Even the mistakes that you make, the poor decisions, and you stop blaming the external circumstances. You regain the power to change and overcome. Because I feel I see that a lot of people don't achieve success because they plan for failure instead of planning for success. So when they hit these roadblocks or stumbling blocks, they just give up and they just lose direction, even if it's a poor mistake, you know. But like saying using that as a detour or a second chance, and then to learn from it, I think it's also a exceptional, characteristics. And one other thing you pointed out, right, was because with you, I know Amir, is you have a high IQ, a high intelligence when it comes to things. You have the ability to manage your emotions and empathize with others. And I believe that's another key to success because you also mentioned something else as far as your self-worth. If you know your self-worth and your abilities, then you know your strengths and limitations, your boundaries. But it's also good to be able to know others and be able to empathize with them, so that way when it comes to building a good network or support system, you know the right key individuals and the key tools that you need, you know, and it builds a higher, better IQ, emotional intelligence, because it dictates how well you lead and collaborate, amongst others. And that's something you don't have to necessarily have leadership qualities, but it's always good to be able to know how to work with others and collaborate. You know.
I definitely agree. I would say that I'm not trying to be a leader. I don't want to be a leader because all the leaders, all the leaders that we have in Black America, we can't talk about them without like talking about the FBI or being assassinated or some type of scandal. This is crazy, but this is just part of our history. That being said, like how you was talking about another key to success. Emotional intelligence is a big one. I think a lot has to do nowadays with the technology that's coming out. AI, smartphones,
Yeah.
smart TV, video games. The youth, my generation and younger, we grew up with technology. And I know that's something that the older generation, yourself included, you guys kind of like really didn't experience.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Now
Whereas
you ain't got to tell my age. You ain't got to tell my age. Just tell the story, brother. Yeah.
I know I'm just saying like everybody that's about my age, their head is glued to their phone. Like
That
they're
is
not
correct.
looking up.
That is correct.
Last time I was on the street, right? I didn't have no girlfriend. I'm trying to, pop out one of these bras. I go to the movie center in Tequila. I'm at the movie theater and I'm like, hey, you want to go watch this movie with me? I just got paid. I'm gonna buy some candy, some drinks, and everything like that. She looked at me like I was crazy, and I'm like, man, I thought like talking to people was a normal thing. I find out no, people don't want to talk. They want you to message them, and they'll be in the same room as you sending text messages like, no, don't pass the remote. I need the remote. No, so it's a little. There's a barrier between us. So yeah, that emotional intelligence means a lot.
It is, and I believe if you develop the ability, well, you also develop the ability like to master, or at least know the basics of an awareness of knowing this, not only knowing this, but how do you combat this? Like you're saying, know whether you're the older generation or the younger generation, how can you make the common ground where you can work together? Because you're gonna make a lot of progress if you do, you know, have certain characteristics where socializing, but socializing with a different genres, different age range, you know. And you brought up something as far as like AI. It, it could be it could be a gift and a curse. You can use AI for things as far as your key to success, but if you're solely dependent on it and not your own capabilities, it could uh it could be a downfall. It could be a downfall. So just have the awareness of that. Uh, I think will help out in the process of success.
I want to touch on a big point. This is a conversation I was just having with another brother in here. You know, we were discussing the mindset really has a lot to do with success, like how you said, how you view the world, how you view your place in the world. And upon leaving prison and re-entering back into society, like I know you're able to see it, because there's a couple of guys that you probably knew or met and, get out and end up dying, end up being shot or end up going back to prison. A lot of tragedies happen because people are still living in the same mindset that they first came into the prison system with and have not changed. So this one, I want to say this factor of key to success, I would say would be financial, like financial support. And I don't mean being a bum on I-5 and being like, hey, look, I need $1 every time. You can't get past this barrier of not being able to get a job and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm talking
true.
about, well, I have this job, and this job lined up, but what is my career path? I think as felons and maybe as just miseducated youth, children, stuff like that, we don't understand the difference between a job and a career. Could you
True.
elaborate on that?
Yes, actually, it's crazy that you mentioned that because uh, I have a daughter, and when she was maybe like 7 years old, I was drilling into her as far as as far as preparing for her career, not necessarily a job. At 7 years old now, there's one point where I asked her. I said, when I initiated the conversation, and I asked her, does she know the difference? Right? And could she give me an example? So lo and behold, I'm thinking like all my talk or my talks with her is just lip service, whatever. But she really paid attention to what I was saying. So basically, both of them is keys to success and can help you catapult you to your next level. And that's really what a job is. A job is a form of employment which you which you can obtain that basically helps you sharpen your skills until you get to something that's more has more longevity that you can see some results in as far as your future, your legacy, your retirement. Um, Something that you can hold back on would be where the something that you can hold dear to your heart, where you can go to every day to where you find enjoyment in, where you can be giving back to the community, where you can be um, something that you can teach or educate or nurture to others. That's what I believe a career is. Uh, Now, like I said, a job is something that you can obtain to where it's something you can sharpen your skills, where you can first initiate something. And a good example, well, I'll tell you the example that my daughter would she used, and she actually applied it in her life. Um, she joined the military, which a lot of people believe that the military is a career. But first, before she joined the military, believe it or not, she joined a security workforce. So where she learned like discipline, scheduling, note taking, working with others, team building, things like that, until she got took her oath to go in the military, where she made a career, and then her next step is to work for uh, to get education, which she had the military paid for, and now she's planning on working on the criminal justice field. So that's a good analogy as far as like the goals and steps you can take, where you can differ from a current job, where you can take where it's something you can do from 9 to 5, which you believe could be temporary, so you can learn from. There's different skills, and then a career is something that you would apply your good, honest work of what you have learned into a longevity, something that could mass as far as your legacy or good outcomes through a good retirement build and other plans that you may have in your life.
Like to touch on just what you're saying, just to add a little bit, because that was a lot of thought. That might have been a little too much for the people. They might not understand it. I'm gonna try to break it down to the kids like this. You might have to work at McDonald's to be able to own a corporation later on in life, because the job is temporary. The career is a permanent thing that you see yourself going to in the future. So being able, like a lot of people nowadays forget about work ethic, being able to suffer now so you can enjoy something later. A lot of people want to enjoy stuff right now, right now, right now, not realizing you're going to suffer later.
That is true. That is true. And it goes back to well, the key topic is about success. When we mentioned about the goals, and it's one thing that I learned over my time and experience. Right, somebody told me that systems over goals, uh, and how they explain it is like, what do you think a goal is?
I mean, a goal is an objective that you have in mind to accomplish.
Correct, correct, right on spot. And the reason I say a system over goals, because a system is a process that gets you there,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, I like that.
So you just don't just set a goal to write a book. Like you build a system to write 500 words every. Let's say, for example, you like if you want to write a book, you don't just set a goal to say, okay, I want to write a book. You build a system. How are you going to write that book? For example, you write
Hmm.
like 500 words every morning. You pick a certain time, let's say 8 o'clock, right? You stick to the schedule. It goes back to what you were saying as far as like that hard work, that preparation. And a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but the key to success, especially when we're dealing with reentry, is preparation, building a system, right? Building the goals, having the goals, and then building that system, right, to reach your goals, right? And then writing a book is like could be that example is like how you write that book. You're not just gonna sit down there. And I know I'll probably tried it a couple times. Probably try to. say I'm gonna accomplish something, and I say I'm not gonna get up, I'm not gonna finish until I do it. But a lot of times in the long run, we may overwhelm ourselves, overwork ourselves, burn ourselves out instead of just building that system to reach these goals.
Yeah, I agree on that. There's a strong book that I would recommend to kind of learn about these kind of things. It's Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill.
Yes, that is good.
And when we're talking about the chief aim, those are things like goals and stuff like we want to have. But he also goes and discusses, well, how are you going to accomplish it? When are you going to accomplish it? That part is very important, the process. Like when you said the process, my brain just started firing so many neurotransmitters because I'm a math person. I like the process. I am a process man, like to the T. I'm like a pit bull when it comes to a process. If someone tries to mess with my process, I
Yes.
go crazy. Like, no, this is the process. I accomplish everything because of a process that I have established for myself. It works, so I'm not gonna change it.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that because it's designed, like as you said, blueprint that works for you. Some others might have a different process, but the thing is to have a process. And one thing I believe it is a key to success is a process, but it's like habitual keys, I would say, because success is something habitual, something that you do repeatedly. You know, like you're saying, you can't let nobody mess with it because it's something that you do repeatedly. I know when I was behind the wall, the one thing that helped me is that I had an agenda. I had a schedule, right? A schedule that
Mhm.
I seen fit that worked for me. And if anybody tried to mess that schedule, come in that schedule. Now, if it seems fit, I'll try to make some time. But if it didn't, I'll say, hallelujah, I'll talk to you later. Hey, goodbye, hallelujah, I'll talk to you later. You
Oh
know, and
man.
a lot of times when individuals get released back in society, they try to please so many people, try to get into so many things instead of sticking to the schedule, the goals that they meet, and they get off track. And that's when stumbling block after stumbling block after obstacle, you know, comes up to play. Then they uh, don't have a plan B, plan D, and then they get mixed up and tricked up, and then they're back to square one. And that's one thing that we have to focus on as people, not just building a good support system, but make sure we keep on track, but also to make sure that we stay on our agenda to continue with the process.
Yeah, just to kind of touch a little bit on what you're just explaining. I wanna give these people just this sauce. Like I want to give them a little bit of a recipe to what you're saying, and
Okay.
I'm
Spice it up.
seeing.
Spice it up.
Yeah, I got to give it to them because man, we get the game is to be told and not to be sold, but everybody wants to go out there and turn it around, right? So I think a lot of people go wrong, and myself included. I was going wrong for a long period of time because I thought everyone had the answers to my problems,
Okay.
when really I have the answers to my problems. And in fact, when we really dig down and get in tune with that spiritual consciousness that God gave us, other people will ask for answers to their problems from us because they start to see that we have all the answers to our own problems. And then that's when people become counselors. So I want to say this to be very short. There is no right way to do a thing unless it's right for the individual. So something that's right for you to do is right, and something that's right for me to do is also right. I learned that from this brother that does this podcast called Insights and Perspectives. And as he says, man, like we're always looking for how to do this the right way, how to do this the right way. But the right way is the way that we designed it for ourselves because God designed us all individually our perfect way. So really, we're all doing it right. We just have to put our mind to it.
I, I definitely agree with that. You like you said, I'm my spark plugs are starting pumping now and stuff. And what's a lot of things you're saying and mentioning because it's like a screwdriver. If you have if you have an issue or problem, you can't, you know, like I said, each individual's case is different. It's like a screwdriver. There's many different screwdrivers. You can't you can't try to unscrew a Allen screw with a Phillips screwdriver, right? It calls for a different solution, you know, and we're all different people, and I think this that comes with awareness. I believe in there, and a lot of people don't have time to think awareness. To think they're just right instead of having awareness of knowing their surroundings, of what we mentioned earlier, of you know keys to success. You know, knowing the world around you, your surroundings.
Yeah, I want to say it was a blessing. You know, episode 4 of the Challenges to Reentry series. We got more to come, and I just appreciate your time. You know, a lot of brothers are on the inside that don't really have the support that I have right now, and I just want to let you know and everybody else know I'm giving you a shout out right now. This is coming from my heart. Everything you do does not go unnoticed, and for people that are able to watch this or listen to this, always know that somebody somewhere cares about you. I know I do. So you got me in your corner.
If I got you in my corner, that's all I need. Then we can take over the world.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
That's all I need,
All
bro.
right. Oh, all right, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
I thought the podcast was going to end. That's why I was going to say.
no, I just
Oh,
would like to accept you. I would like to accept that shout out. No, I don't do it for accolades, but I definitely appreciate, you know, your appreciation.